Ladies and gentlemen, your mind is the most powerful tool you possess, but it can also be your greatest obstacle. Every thought you have, every emotion you feel, every decision you make is influenced by what happens inside your head. And yet so many of us go through life never questioning the voice in our minds. We allow it to lead, to react, to spiral, without realizing that we have the power to take control. The truth is, if you don't learn to control your mind, it will begin to control you. It will feed you doubt when you need courage, fear when you need faith, and hesitation when you need to act. But once you become aware, once you take that first step toward mastering your thoughts, everything begins to change. You start choosing your response instead of reacting on autopilot. You begin creating your reality instead of being a prisoner of it. The mind is not your enemy, it's your instrument, but only if you learn how to use it. And that begins right here, right now. Right now, your thoughts are actively shaping your reality. Every belief you hold, every emotion you feel, and every decision you make all come from your mind. But here's the real question. Who's actually in control? Is it you, the one capable of steering your life? Or is it your mind running the show, making decisions without your awareness? Today, I want to help you understand something deeply important. Your mind is an incredible tool, but without guidance, it can work against you. Now imagine if you could take control of your thoughts, redirect your attention, and fully use the power of your mind. How different would your life be? Would you feel more confident, more centered, more driven? Your mind shapes how you experience everything. Every emotion, every success or failure, every belief, all of it begins in the space where your thoughts are formed. What we often forget is that our view of the world isn't purely based on what's happening around us. It's shaped by how our mind processes those events. The mind has an extraordinary influence on how we live, and it starts with the thoughts we focus on. This process is subtle but powerful. Imagine you wake up and your first thought is about a stressful situation at work, a strained relationship, or a health issue. That one thought then leads to more thoughts, ones filled with worry, fear, or frustration. As your day goes on, these thoughts shape your mood and direct how you feel. This isn't random. It's your mind creating your experience. The mental framework you built influences how you react to events, even when they're outside of your control. But if you start your day with a mindset built on gratitude, purpose, or optimism, your experience will be entirely different. You'll think about your goals, your progress, and what's possible. Your focus will shift to what you can manage and how you can grow. These types of thoughts bring confidence, calm, and motivation, and they'll shape your day in a more positive direction. What this shows is how much power your mind holds in shaping how you see the world. Yet most of us don't realize we're running on autopilot. We aren't fully aware that the thoughts constantly flowing through our heads are quietly influencing our actions and emotions. These thoughts are usually shaped by past experiences, fears, and patterns we never examined. Many people go through life without questioning these patterns, and in doing so, they live in a version of reality that's been unconsciously built by their unchecked thoughts. It becomes a cycle they repeat without knowing how to break free. The key to change lies in recognizing the role your mind plays in shaping your reality. When you become aware of the thoughts that fill your mind, you gain the power to question and replace them. You can let go of the negative limiting ideas and start choosing thoughts that support your growth and well-being. This is where true power lies, in intentionally selecting thoughts that align with who you want to become. It's not about thinking positively for a few moments. It's about understanding that your thoughts ripple through every area of your life. Think about how often people get caught in cycles of negative thinking. When they're faced with a challenge, their minds jump to worst-case scenarios or feelings of powerlessness. These thoughts create more stress and reinforce a reality filled with doubt. But if you shift that inner voice, if you start focusing on solutions and possibilities instead of problems, you can begin to change your experience. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about directing your focus toward what's within your control. Rebuilding your mental habits is something you do every day. Just like you train your body to stay healthy, you need to train your mind to think clearly and intentionally. The thoughts you're having today will shape how you feel and act tomorrow. In fact, the life you're experiencing now is a reflection of the thoughts you've allowed to grow over time. Your reality isn't fixed. It's constantly shaped by the thoughts you choose to dwell on. Take someone who constantly doubts their abilities. That person might avoid new opportunities or fear taking risks because they believe they'll fail. That belief then leads them to stay in their comfort zone, reinforcing the cycle. But if that same person changes their internal story and starts believing they are capable and resourceful, their behavior changes. They begin trying new things, taking bold steps, and welcoming new experiences. That change in mindset leads to a stronger, more empowered reality. Everything in life, every emotion, experience, and result starts with a thought. That's why understanding how your mind shapes your world is so essential. Once you learn to guide your thinking, you can build a life that matches your goals, purpose, and full potential. Your mind isn't just a bystander. It's the designer of your life. And when you fully understand that, you gain the power to rebuild it in ways you never thought possible. You are the one who creates your thoughts. That may sound basic, but it's one of the most powerful truths you'll ever realize. Most people think thoughts just happen to them, like external events being broadcast into their minds. But the truth is, your mind isn't passive. It's actively generating those thoughts. Every thought is a product of your awareness, and those thoughts influence how you feel and behave. Once you realize that, you unlock the ability to shape your life from the inside. Think about it. Every belief you hold about yourself or the world was formed through your inner voice. These thoughts weren't forced on you. They were created by you, shaped by past events, information you've consumed, and how you've responded emotionally. Recognizing yourself as the creator of your thoughts begins with awareness. Many times we're caught in a constant stream of thinking, unaware that we can pause, observe, and evaluate what's going on in our minds. But the moment you start observing your thoughts, you realize something big. You are not your thoughts. You are the one noticing them. This awareness is the first step toward taking back your mental power. Many people underestimate how much their emotions are driven by their thoughts. Ask someone why they feel anxious or upset, and they'll usually point to a specific situation or person, but it's not the event itself, it's the interpretation their mind assigns to it that determines how they feel. If you tell yourself something is impossible or assume someone's out to hurt you, your brain will respond with fear and stress. But change that perspective and your emotional state changes too. That's the impact of your interpretation. It's not the event, but how you think about it that defines your experience. This is where your power to choose comes in. Each day, you choose which thoughts you'll give space to. You can focus on what's wrong or on what's possible. You can think about your limitations or about what you're capable of. These choices affect how you feel, which in turn shapes how you act, and those actions build your life. Imagine someone who believes they're not worthy of love or success. Their belief leads to self-doubt, hesitation, and missed opportunities. Their thoughts turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy, but someone who believes they're deserving of good things acts accordingly. They take chances, stay open to growth, and move forward. The thoughts we repeat over and over settle into our subconscious and shape our behavior. Knowing that you create your thoughts also means accepting responsibility for them. That can be empowering, but also challenging. It means you hold the key to your mindset, but it also means facing the beliefs that have kept you stuck. It asks you to challenge the stories you've accepted about who you are and what you can become. If you want to change your life, you have to start with the way you think. That begins by identifying thoughts that don't serve you, thoughts that create fear, doubt, and resistance. These may be based on past pain, social pressure, or unkind words from others, but they are not your truth. They are stories your mind created, and the good news is you can change those stories. This won't happen overnight. Reprogramming your mind takes time, effort, and patience, but it's possible. You just have to become an active thinker, someone who chooses thoughts on purpose. Every time you catch yourself thinking something limiting, you can swap it for something empowering. That could mean telling yourself, I can handle this, instead of this is too much. Or saying, I deserve good things, instead of I'll never be enough. When you consciously choose your thoughts, You're actively creating your future. And the more you do this, the more you'll notice real change. Your outer world may not change right away, but the way you respond to it will. The mind is an extraordinary tool, and when you learn to guide it, you'll discover the ability to shape a life more powerful than you ever imagined. But if left on its own, your mind can create disorder. We often forget just how much our thoughts affect us. They're not just passing ideas, they're the foundation of how we feel, act, and live. When we let them run wild without awareness, we open the door to confusion and stress. But when we guide them with purpose, we create clarity and direction. A chaotic mental state often reveals itself through stress, anxiety, confusion, and a persistent feeling of losing control. Our thoughts play a crucial role in how we experience life. And when they go unchecked, they can distort our perception, leaving us disconnected and uncertain day after day. While the mind is constantly active, most of the thoughts it produces are automatic. Responses to external events, past experiences, or ingrained beliefs. These automatic thoughts are often reactive instead of intentional, which makes them difficult to manage unless we become aware of them. Without conscious direction, these reactive thoughts can spiral quickly, leading to emotional distress and behavior that does not align with our best interests. For instance, when we encounter a problem or challenge, our mind might instantly start projecting ideas of failure or fear. This, in turn, creates emotional responses like anxiety or helplessness, which often result in avoidance or inaction. When our thoughts are left to run wild, they generate a cycle of negativity. It feels as though the mind is working against us, becoming stuck on the problem rather than finding solutions. Our attention gets consumed by fear, doubt, and insecurity. We begin to believe the issue is larger than it really is, or that we're incapable of overcoming it. The more we focus on a situation in a negative light, the more intense our emotional reaction becomes, and the stronger the negative thought pattern grows. It feels like a mental storm where each thought intensifies the next, and we feel powerless to break free. This mental chaos has serious consequences on both our physical and emotional health. Stress and anxiety often stem from uncontrolled thoughts. When our minds are filled with worry or fear, our bodies respond by releasing stress hormones like cortisol, which can cause physical symptoms like headaches, tension, and even chronic illness. Emotionally, we may feel worn out, unmotivated, or disconnected from what matters most. This is the result of letting our thoughts lead without control, an internal storm that drains our energy and leaves us feeling directionless. When our thoughts are scattered, we lose the ability to focus on what truly matters. Our energy is spread thin, and we become easily distracted by minor worries or imaginary problems. Rather than being fully present, we are constantly pulled in different directions by the non-stop stream of mental noise. We end up multitasking in ways that lower our productivity and prevent us from achieving meaningful progress. In such a disordered mental state, it's difficult to think clearly, make sound decisions, or act in alignment with our values. But there is a way forward. That hope begins with awareness and the willingness to take back control. The first step in escaping mental chaos is becoming aware of the thoughts flowing through your mind. This means learning to observe your thoughts without judgment or attachment. It requires recognizing when your thinking is leading you down a negative path and choosing to shift your attention. It's not about stopping thoughts altogether. Thoughts will always arise, but it is about deciding which ones to focus on and which to let go. Through mindfulness and mental discipline, we can gradually gain more control over our thinking, which leads to better emotional and behavioral outcomes. Mindfulness teaches us how to stay grounded in the present moment and watch our thoughts without being swept up in them. When we observe our thoughts objectively, we begin to see that we are not our thoughts. We are the awareness behind them. This allows us to release unhelpful thoughts and replace them with ones that are more constructive and aligned with our values. It's also important to remember that not every thought needs our attention. Many thoughts that lead to stress and confusion are simply distractions, irrelevant to our current reality. By learning to refocus and dismiss these mental interruptions, we can stay grounded and clear-headed. Over time, with consistent effort, we can reprogram the mind by replacing negative thinking patterns with more thoughtful and purposeful ones. When we begin to take charge of our thoughts, we invite peace into our lives. We begin creating a mental space that supports focus, emotional balance, and clarity. This doesn't mean life becomes free of challenges, but it means we face those challenges with steadiness and confidence. Rather than being pulled into mental chaos, we can stay centered and take intentional steps toward our goals. When we master our thinking, we shift from reacting to life to creating it. Chaos isn't something that just happens to us. It's what we experience when we stop guiding our minds. By learning how to manage our thoughts, we bring order back into our lives. We replace confusion with clarity and restlessness with peace. The mind is a powerful tool, but its real strength lies in our ability to direct it. We have the power to choose which thoughts we feed, which patterns we reinforce, and what kind of inner environment we want to live in. When we make that choice intentionally, the noise fades and we become the calm center in life's storm. Our minds are always active, generating thoughts at incredible speed. These thoughts influence how we see the world, how we behave, and how we experience life. Yet many people don't realize just how much influence they have over their internal dialogue. When we allow our minds to operate without guidance, we hand over control to automatic thoughts, which often lead us into confusion, frustration, and even hopelessness. But here's the truth. We do have the power to shape our thoughts, and with that power, we can change our lives. One of the most significant aspects of our thinking is its ability to create reality. What we think shapes what we believe, and those beliefs shape how we live. Our minds are story makers. They construct the narratives we carry about who we are and what we're capable of achieving. These internal stories become the lens through which we see the world. If we believe we're not good enough or that we'll never succeed, our thoughts will keep reinforcing those ideas. But if we choose to believe we're capable, worthy, and strong, our thoughts will support and guide us toward choices and experiences that reflect that belief. When we don't pay attention to our thinking, we often adopt limiting beliefs that keep us from growing. These beliefs can come from childhood experiences, cultural messages, or the influence of others. Over time, they become deeply ingrained patterns of thought. We begin to assume that certain things are impossible or that failure is inevitable. But these beliefs aren't facts. They're learned thought habits. They've developed from repeated exposure to negative experiences or unchallenged assumptions. And when we allow them to control our lives, we end up shaping a future that's far smaller than it could be. The way out of this cycle is through awareness. We must become conscious of our thoughts and challenge their truth. Are these thoughts based on facts, or are they just assumptions shaped by past pain or fear? When we start watching our thoughts as an observer, we gain distance from them. We realize that we don't have to accept every thought that appears. We can choose which ones align with our goals and values. Observing your thoughts is a powerful way to regain control. It helps you see that thoughts are temporary and that you can decide how much influence they have. The strength of the mind lies not only in the thoughts you generate, but in how you respond to them. Our emotional reactions are often sparked by our thoughts, and those emotions influence our behavior. For example, a thought like, "I'm not good enough," can bring up feelings of fear or self-doubt, leading to procrastination or withdrawal. But if we recognize that thought and intentionally replace it with something more empowering, like, "I'm learning and improving every day," we change the emotional response. That shift then leads to more confident and productive actions. The mind isn't a passive vessel. It's constantly shaping your feelings and choices. And when you take control of that process, your life begins to reflect a more empowered and intentional version of you. When we take control of our thoughts, we begin to take control of our emotions and actions. This process, however, is not always easy. It takes patience, practice, and consistent effort. Our minds are often trained to react automatically, following long-established patterns. Breaking these habits requires time, but with deliberate effort, we can train our minds to respond in ways that support our goals and values. One of the most effective techniques for doing this is practicing mindfulness and meditation. These tools help us calm the mind and create space for conscious awareness. Mindfulness allows us to observe our thoughts without reacting to them. Instead of being pulled into the constant mental chatter, we learn to let thoughts pass without judgment. This non-reactive awareness is key to reclaiming control over our minds. In addition to mindfulness, affirmations offer another powerful tool. Affirmations are positive statements we repeat to ourselves to influence our subconscious mind. By repeating empowering thoughts, we can begin to override limiting beliefs and replace them with constructive ones. Instead of thinking, "I will never succeed," we might affirm, "I am capable of reaching my goals." Over time, these affirmations shape how we think and behave by becoming deeply embedded in our mindset. It's also important to disconnect from external influences. Often we let the opinions of others determine our sense of self-worth. We might look to external approval for validation, but real empowerment comes from trusting our inner voice and making decisions based on our values. When we learn to rely on our own judgment, we stop allowing external noise to influence our thoughts and actions. This inner confidence enables us to live with clarity and self-assurance. The foundation of controlling the mind lies in understanding that we are not our thoughts. We can decide which thoughts to engage with and which to release. Our thoughts hold power, but they don't have to control us. When we take responsibility for what we think, we take responsibility for how we live. Thoughts aren't just passive responses to what happens around us. They are active forces that shape our experiences. If left unchecked, thoughts can spiral into harmful patterns influenced by fear, past trauma, or social conditioning. These patterns affect how we perceive ourselves, others, and the world, often leading to stress, self-doubt, and anxiety. The good news is, we have the ability to interrupt these cycles and redirect our minds toward healthier, more productive paths. One reason these patterns take hold is that many thoughts happen automatically. We often aren't even aware of them. They emerge from our subconscious and are shaped by previous experiences or personal insecurities. Without awareness, we become trapped in cycles of negative thinking without realizing it. A single bad experience can trigger a chain of self-defeating thoughts about our worth, our abilities, and our future. If we don't pause to recognize these thoughts as simply mental reactions, we risk becoming stuck in patterns of criticism and discouragement. Awareness is the first step to change. By becoming mindful of the thoughts we entertain, we can begin to identify which patterns are helpful and which are not. Mindfulness isn't about eliminating all negative thoughts. It's about noticing them without letting them take control. It's about recognizing that we are separate from our thoughts, and we have the choice to let them go. This clarity gives us the space to make more intentional choices about what we think and how we feel. Once we understand that we can direct our thoughts, we can guide them in a more constructive and positive direction. But awareness alone is not enough. We must also learn to challenge the thoughts that hold us back. Many of the thoughts we experience are not based on facts, but are projections of past fears and doubts. When a thought like, "I'm not good enough," arises, we should ask ourselves, is this really true? What evidence supports it, and what contradicts it? By questioning the accuracy of our thoughts, we can reduce their influence. Over time, we can replace limiting beliefs with more empowering ones, shifting from a mindset of lack to one of confidence and possibility. Not all thoughts are created equal. Some thoughts come from fear or distraction, while others are aligned with our goals and values. Learning to tell the difference is crucial. Many of the thoughts that cause us stress or anxiety are habitual and not truly important. By focusing only on thoughts that support our growth, we can use our mental energy more effectively. Affirmations are a simple way to help redirect our thinking. These positive, repeated statements gradually rewire the brain, creating new neural pathways. For example, if we notice a thought like, "I can't do this," we can replace it with, "I am capable of overcoming challenges." Repeating affirmations regularly helps shift internal beliefs, eventually replacing negative patterns with positive ones. Visualization is another powerful tool. By mentally picturing ourselves succeeding, we train our minds to focus on outcomes we want to create. Visualization helps reinforce belief in our goals, making them feel more real and attainable. When we visualize positive outcomes, We create a mental environment that supports success and reduces fear. However, positive thinking alone is not enough. We must take action that aligns with our thoughts. Every meaningful change requires effort. If we want to achieve something, we must take consistent steps toward it. Our actions confirm our intentions to our subconscious mind. Taking action reinforces our beliefs and creates momentum, creating a feedback loop that supports continued growth. The mind is a powerful tool, but it must be directed with purpose. We should no longer allow thoughts to control us. Instead, we must become intentional in how we think. By developing awareness, questioning limiting beliefs, and focusing on empowering thoughts, we can transform the way we experience life. The mind has the power to build the life we want, and it all begins with the thoughts we choose. Thoughts are not just passing ideas, they form the foundation of our reality. What we think affects how we feel, how we act, and what results we create. Too often we let thoughts flow unchecked, unaware of their impact. It's easy to get caught in cycles of doubt or fear, especially when life is uncertain. But the truth is, we can direct our thoughts. And in doing so, we reshape our world. The mind is not a bystander. It is an active participant in the life we create. Many of our thoughts aren't based on current facts. They're shaped by past experiences or deep-seated fears. These thoughts often arise from the subconscious, built up through years of conditioning. For example, someone who failed in the past may carry the thought, "I'll never succeed." But that thought isn't based on their present potential. It's a leftover from an earlier experience. These beliefs feel real, but they are not facts. The danger lies in accepting them without question. The first step to taking control of your thoughts is recognizing that you have a choice. You are not your thoughts. They are just mental events that pass through your awareness. You can decide whether or not to engage with them. It's easy to be overwhelmed by negative or self-critical thinking, but once we step back and view our thoughts from a place of awareness, we realize they don't define us. This perspective is empowering. By observing our thoughts, rather than identifying with them, we begin to regain the power we gave away. Once we become aware of the limiting beliefs we've adopted, we can start to question them. These beliefs may have formed years ago and may no longer reflect who we are or what we're capable of. For instance, if we've believed that success is out of reach, we must ask, is this truly accurate? Is there evidence to support it or to disprove it? Challenging these thoughts allows us to break free from scarcity mindsets and replace them with beliefs that support growth. Equally important is learning to focus on what we want rather than what we fear. Our brains are wired to pay attention to problems, but this focus can feed worry and negativity. If we constantly think about what could go wrong, we may unintentionally attract more setbacks. Instead, we should direct our thoughts toward the outcomes we want: peace, growth, love, or abundance. When we focus on positive possibilities, we train our minds to align with them. The mind works best when directed toward what we want to create rather than what we want to avoid. Affirmations support this shift. These are present tense, empowering statements we use to recondition our subconscious minds. When we affirm things like, "I am confident," or "I deserve success," we begin to change the inner narrative. Repeated affirmations gradually replace old beliefs with healthier ones. Over time, these thoughts become second nature, and our default mindset becomes more positive. Visualization helps reinforce this process. When we imagine our goals clearly and vividly, our minds accept them as achievable. Visualization serves as a mental rehearsal for success, whether it's building a business, landing a job, or improving well-being. Mentally seeing it happen helps us believe it's possible. That belief then shapes our behavior and decisions. Controlling our thoughts is ultimately about training the mind to focus on what supports us, not what limits us. It's not about denying difficult thoughts. It's about recognizing them for what they are, temporary and changeable. With practice, thinking in a more positive and focused way becomes our natural habit. When we take control of our thoughts, we change the way we live. Our thoughts create our world, and by choosing to think in alignment with our deepest goals and values, we begin building the life we truly want. The power lies within us, and it all starts with the thoughts we allow into our minds. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the choice is yours. You can continue letting your mind run on autopilot, driven by fear, doubt, and distraction, or you can step into the driver's seat and take full control of your thoughts, your emotions, and your destiny. Remember, mastering your mind is not a one-time decision. It's a daily commitment to show up with awareness, with discipline, and with intention. If this message spoke to you, if you felt the power in these words, then don't just listen. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more content that challenges you to grow, to think differently, and to rise higher. Your support fuels this mission, and your voice in the comments lets us know we're making a difference. Take control, stay focused, and always remember, the mind is powerful, but you are more powerful still.